And welcome back to the week of What If. This What If comes to us from Nappa, the elite Saiyan. Well, ask the question, what if Jango Fett had actually killed Mace Windu in Attack of the Clones? So obviously we know the ultimate setup that happens is that Mace Windu kills Jango Fett, goes on to do his thing, ultimately gets killed by, he gets killed by Palpatine. Anakin just cut his hand off. And his influence, therefore, is, that was his influence long term and everything that played out because of him. But what if the opposite had happened? What if Jango Fett had managed to somehow kill Mace Windu? So first off, how would he manage to do it? We see ultimately that Jango Fett had he blasted Mace Windu off the what was the term, balcony with a flamethrower. He fired laser blasts at him. He was shooting at him, but then as Mace Windu kept charging, he ultimately cut his head off. So in this scenario, I would picture it being more like he goes to chop his head off. Jango's able to block, and luckily because of his armor, is able to kind of what happened with Luke and Vader when Luke got that glancing blow. It's a glancing blow, but Jango then turns around with the other gun and then shoots Mace Windu dead. So what happens because of this? Well, first off, Boba Fett is not truly created in the same sense that he was in the original series. The death of Jango impacted Boba extremely. It's what made Boba Fett ultimately. He joined Cruz in the Clone Wars. He shows up as a young Boba Fett, as a young bounty hunter, and ultimately became one of the most feared bounty hunters in the galaxy. That changes up here. It basically now becomes that Boba is still with Jango for a time. But more importantly, first off, I do think the Jedi still survived the Battle of Geonosis. I think that's a given. Mace Windu was not the defining feature of, the Battle of Geonosis, despite the fact we got to see him, duke it out a little bit. But the Jedi do feel his loss. I think Obi-Wan gets his position on the council even earlier. I think he's the one probably chosen to fill in Mace Windu's shoes. And because of that, it changes things up the dynamic very much. Still, he goes out on his missions with Anakin because it's a war, and that's what the Jedi were doing. So while they're members of the council, they were still active in their participation in the war. That being said, there is a stark difference between Revenge of the Sith and Attack of the Clones now. Because with Attack of the Clones, there's not much that really changes because we are near the end of that movie anyway. We are in the last 20 to 30 minutes of that movie as it stood. So the events of Attack of the Clones, nothing really changes there. Now, I can say I've never personally watched the Clone Wars series, so I can't speak to it. I will say that losing Mace Windu is a pretty hefty blow. Yoda's the Grandmaster, or is a Grandmaster. He's like the head Jedi. Windu was basically the next one down. He's considered the strongest Jedi after Yoda. And without him being there, that does leave a gap in the power. So the Jedi, I think, do suffer. Any episode that had been focused on Windu maybe gets focused on a different Jedi, not necessarily Obi-Wan, but just a different Jedi. And it probably doesn't go as well for that Jedi because they just weren't as powerful as Windu. But more importantly now, we have Obi-Wan more or less filling in kind of the Mace Windu role to some degree. He would still be sent to Utapau to deal with Grievous because he was the one best chosen, or believed to be the one best believed to be. Think words here. Think grammar. He was the one they believed he had the best chance against Grievous because of his style as opposed to a more aggressive fighter. And obviously you'd have some other Jedi that fills in the hole for Windu as well, because if Obi-Wan gets promoted quicker in this version, he's still Obi-Wan on the council. Obi-Wan was already on the council. But someone's got to fill the Windu spot. Now, the question becomes quickly, does Anakin get that spot? And here's the thing. Windu was the one who didn't grant him the title of Master. And it was Palpatine who basically appointed him to the council when he didn't have the power to do that. So Windu didn't grant him the title of Master. the question becomes, would Obi-Wan grant him the title of Master? And here's this. Here's what I think would happen here. Is that Obi-Wan knows Anakin. He can sense them there. He can sense there's I mean, they're Jedi. They're attuned to this kind of thing. He can sense that things have been bothering Anakin, and being frustrated with the Council, even before then. Now, keep in mind, Anakin would still be being seduced by Palpatine at this point, but Obi-Wan looks to his friend, and it would be Obi-Wan. They would tell Obi-Wan to give the announcement. It's like, while we do not, Anakin, while we do not agree, do not agree with the Chancellor viewing the Jedi matters, we do grant you a seating on the Council. And even though I can sense there's much turmoil within you right now, I do believe you're ready for this responsibility. You have grown to a strong, reliable man, and a far greater Jedi than most before you. I will grant you the rank of Master. May you live to do honor by that title. So, and may you live to do honor by the title and the brethren you have in this court, in this council. And that I think changes a lot. You don't get this like you joking. How I am more powerful than any of you? How can you be a Jedi on the council and not be a master? Instead, you get more of a brotherly relationship with Obi-Wan and Anakin. Anakin realizes like this is not. It's like Obi-Wan would basically say, "This is not a title we grant lightly. The duties and responsibilities that come with it are more than even I think you may understand. But I do believe you're ready for it. And I put my faith and trust in you." So I do think that changes Anakin's that curbs him a little bit. I mean, he's still dealing with a lot, the death dreams of Padme, everything along those lines. But he's a bit, Obi-Wan's trust in him, his faith in him. It helps him deal with a lot. It helps him deal, well, maybe not a lot, but it does help him deal with a little bit. And it curbs. There's a slight quelling in the storm in Anakin's soul and mind. And he sits on. He doesn't have his outburst. He takes this irresponsibly. He takes it as a man, and he sits down. So obviously Obi-Wan then goes to Utapau to deal with Grievous. That goes the exact same. And he still has that parting ways. Though the conversation does go a little differently. Obviously, he doesn't say he's a frustrated with the council, and Obi-Wan still shares that you'll become a far greater man, a far stronger Jedi than I will ever be, and I am very proud of you, my friend. But very proud of me, my friend, and I'll see you when I get back. So, yeah, I mean, that friendship was there. You get those moments in the Revenge of the Sith where you really do get the idea that Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan really did consider him a good friend. Revenge of the Sith is my favorite of the prequels, like a lot of people, I think, because that's where it felt the most like a real Star Wars film, quite frankly, and not just this unimpeded fever dream of a director who was just being yes man. Again, there's good stuff in all the movies, but yeah, I mean, I can't say I'm a huge fan of the prequels. I like Revenge of the Sith. Don't love it, like it. I don't hate Phantom Menace. Clone Wars the Attack of the Clones is just bad though. It's got good stuff in it. The Yoda fight, the Dooku fight, the Geonosis fight. Jango Fett's kind of cool. But still, it's just anyway. I digress. So still, you get Obi-Wan defeating Grievous, and he's still stuck on Utapau. So what happens with Anakin and Palpatine? He went to Windu initially to say that I believe the Chancellor is the Sith Lord we've been looking for. He knows the dark side. Who does he go to now? Obi-Wan's not back. And let's be honest, do you think Obi-Wan would have been able to stand up to Palpatine? Probably not. However, I think what he would actually do is he would actually get in touch with Obi-Wan. I think as a master. It's like I have news, because I mean we had Kit Fisto, we had we had two other Jedi Masters whose names I just quite frankly don't know, but we had Kit Fisto. Kit Fisto I always liked, at least as a design. And I liked him in the Darren Aronofsky Clone Wars. He had an episode to himself, and he was pretty badass. His lightsaber can actually work underwater, which is really cool. But where was I going with this? I don't. That's who was basically there prior. But now we got those three and Windu, but Windu's gone. So what happens here? That's what I think. I think he basically actually goes out of his way to contact Master Kenobi, contact Kenobi, and even contact Yoda, and it's like the Chancellor does. Chancellor seems wants to bring me to his side, wants to recruit me, but I can't betray your trust. It's like, and I don't wish to go down this route. I'm concerned, and this is the thing. I think Anakin is so desperate at the moment, but he's still got so much trust in Obi-Wan. He doesn't have Windu there now, that because he needs to relate to someone, that he actually does confide to what happened with Obi-Wan to Obi-Wan, and he just says like I think he actually goes, I don't care if I get dispelled from the Jedi Order, just I don't want to lose her. And Obi-Wan's like, well, we'll talk about this when it's all said and done, Anakin. But first and foremost, we must we must gather the Jedi we need for this. And indeed, and come to one problem at a time. One problem at a time we must deal with it, young Skywalker. So yeah, Yoda and Obi-Wan, similar to the original, both get to Coruscant, but this time they're not fighting off clone troopers. They're just there. Anakin's waiting. He's sitting, and he quickly gets up. He's like, Master, you're sure about this? And he knows the ways of the dark side. That whole line again. It's like, our worst fears realize they have been. So, so here's the thing. Another issue here is whether or not Anakin goes with them or not. Windu had him sit this out initially, but Obi-Wan's just like, Anakin, I know you've tried. I know how you're feeling right. I can sense how you're feeling right now. But if we're going to deal with this, we're going to need you. Indeed, you're Skywalker, or betrayed the code you have. But trust us. You trust us with this information you have also done. Where we will need all the Jedi, all of them, no exception. And that's basically saying, right now you're still a Jedi. You broke the code, and you may very well be expelled. But you know what? At the moment, it's cool. He's like, we just need you to be there for us, and we'll be there for you. And at the end, and Anakin's like, yes, thank you. And they go in, and obviously it's Yoda, it's Kenobi, it's Anakin. Oh, Master Kenobi, back from Utapau. I was not made aware by Commander Cody that you had come. I thought you had left. And Master Yoda, how unexpected. You should still be on Kashyyyk. Now Palpatine could obviously sense that something was off, but he wasn't expecting both Kenobi and Yoda, and then the Earth address and Master Skywalker. And Master Skywalker, what can I do for you, Jedi? So many Jedi in my chambers. What can I do for you? See, by the power of the Senate, and your rulers, and not long enough it was, or not short enough it was. Are you threatening me, Master Jedi? We'll let the Senate decide that I am the Senate. Not yet. Then it's treason. Oh, now that being said, they all ignite him, including Obi-Wan, including Yoda, and even Palpatine's like, he gets up and he's threatening, but at the same time I can't take all, because he barely took Yoda on. Let's be honest. Palpatine technically beat Yoda, but he did not want to go toe-to-toe in a lightsaber battle with Yoda. When Yoda ignited his lightsaber, in fact, his first goal was actually to first off, he blasted Yoda Force Blast, but Yoda blasted him back, and then he tried to run. It's like he didn't want to fight Yoda if he didn't have to. And then in a straight lightsaber battle, he lost that the lightsaber battle with Yoda. Yoda disarmed him. But when it came to like the Force battle in the Senate, Palpatine had the advantage. So he quickly. I actually think he quickly comes in, attacks. The three Jedi go down. The three Jedi, Fisto and the other two go down. And then he's duking out with both Obi-Wan, Anakin, and Yoda. Unfortunately, he's got to keep. He knows he can't take all three of these guys on, specifically because he's trying to recruit Anakin. So he's got to be careful not to kill Anakin, at least at this time. If he has to, he will. Obi-Wan's defensive style is very difficult to get around. I do think in just a one-on-one fight, he'd probably beat Obi-Wan. In fact, he almost certainly would. But again, Yoda is a superior actual swordsman to him. Yoda beat him in a straight-out sword fight. And this is 3-on-1, so he's struggling. So he's also using telekinesis. He's throwing all the Force abilities he can out there. He breaks the window. He actually throws the shards of glass at him. Yoda's basically, using the Force to keep those at bay and then throw them back at him. He kind of blocks them. Ultimately, though, it's Obi-Wan who basically disarms him because his style is defensive and be good for disarmament. And they basically, put him, get him to the floor, or basically get in the same position that he was in prior to it. It's like, this fight is over. This fight is over. You have lost. And Chad's like, you see, Anakin, the Jedi are taking over. It's like, no. And Anakin's he's still struggling. Sense great. Manipulating young Skywalker. You have been for too long. The decisions you must make now, Skywalker. How do you proceed? Yoda's giving Anakin the choice. Like, what do you think he should do? He must stand trial. It's not our way. If we kill him, we're no better than him. It's like, I see, and that's the thing. Windu was right. He was too dangerous to be kept alive, but he was also showing that he really wasn't that much better than Sidious. Obi-Wan was definitely someone, and also his style worked with delving into the dark side, dancing with the dark side, but never fully succumbing. So, he was a much more aggressive, much more stern individual. Obi-Wan and Yoda carry a lot more wisdom in the sense that they're able to see both sides a bit easier. Dangerous he is, too dangerous to live, but correct young Skywalker is as well. Not our ways, this is. Stand trial, you will, Chancellor. It's like, you have lost. No, the reign of the Sith shall never again regain. You have no more. Surrender now, or you will die. It's like, no, you will die. Palpatine does that. Yeah, and Obi-Wan's just doing his best. Yoda though gets in and just does what he did with Dooku, just no more of this. There won't be, and he does shove the lightning back in his face. Now, I am curious, because I don't think it's ever been fully stated, whether or not that's actually how Palpatine looked, because of dark side degradation, or degeneration, or if that's just he was actually scarred by his own lightning. I think that's probably he was just scarred by his own lightning. He wasn't doing some sort of illusion. And Yoda's like, no more of this. No more of this you will do. And Yoda's there, and it's like, Yoda's keeping him. Yoda's at point blank. Try it again, and no choice you will give us. And Anakin gets some cuffs and energy binders and things along those lines, and basically they take Palpatine into custody, with Yoda and Obi-Wan and Anakin flanking him. So there's a trial for Sidious, and whether or not Sidious is actually able to be kept on trial is, debatable, but there ultimately is a trial for the treason that Sidious has caused. And treason for all the issues that he's caused and the revelations of this. And, Anakin gives testimony, all of them, and eventually he is pleaded guilty, and they put him in the deepest max hole they can do, put him in Force maybe even near a planet with a Force nexus or something that would negate Force abilities. I don't know. I know there's planets in the Star Wars or worlds and things in the Star Wars universe that can do that. I'm just kind of throwing some EU out there. Um, but now comes the big thing. It's like, what happens with Anakin? And Anakin is now standing in front of the council. He's, he's ashamed of what he did. But at the same time, he is proud of what he did. He didn't succumb. And I'm sure this happened over the course of a couple of days. And surprisingly, once Palpatine was, taken away and all that, the dreams stopped. He no longer had dreams of Padme dying. And he's wondering, did I stop it? And he stopped, and he's looking at Padme, and she's still asleep, very pregnant, but still asleep, and he just holds her. And it's like, So comes the day of the judgment for Anakin Skywalker, and he judgment of Anakin Skywalker, and they're looking at like. Anakin. I'm trying. Ki Mundi. That was one of them. Anakin Skywalker. You stand before the council, accused of breaking one of our most sacred laws, several of the most sacred laws. How do you plead? I do not deny anything. Anything. I have only tried to do what I felt is right, but I have betrayed the code. No matter what has befallen, I do not regret I both regret and I both simultaneously do and do not regret my actions. And Ian Kyamundi's like, you both do and do not regret your actions? Elaborate, Skywalker. I feel the code is out. If I may be blunt, I feel the code is outdated to some degree. Our code has basically kept us so isolated and so chaste that we became nothing more than a mere image of the Sith in our own right. It's said that only a Sith deals with absolutes, but when you talk about our code, all of our codes are nothing more than absolutes. So how does that really make us? I've tried to adhere to that code, but during years I've broken it. I found love. I have a wife and I have a child on the way. So if this means this is the end of me as if my Jedi career, so be it. But I do not regret. I regret betraying your trust, but I do not regret my actions. Either way, I will live my life a happy man. And the council kind of looks in on this, and Yoda and Obi-Wan are contemplating this, and thinking on it, and Ki-Adi-Mundi is also thinking on it. All the other council members are thinking on it, and they do have to think on it for a little bit. And Ki-Adi-Mundi is actually a very rare exception that he was actually allowed to repopulate his planet. He was actually allowed to have relations with women because it was required for his species. Jedi actually don't have to be the weird thing about Jedi is they don't have to be celibate. They just can't have attachments. And Yoda's actually, thinking on this even more and more. It's like, harsh truths, young Skywalker. Harsh truths, young Skywalker's words ring. For the Jedi were founded, and he explains that the Jedi were founded under these rules and principles to make themselves stay within the light, but at the same time, Anakin raised a legitimate point that they really didn't become anything more than a mirror image of the Sith in some regard, just the Sith and the light side, and they were kind of being hypocrites. But Yoda and Obi-Wan understands, like, still, we cannot let you go we cannot let you go unpunished for your actions, Anakin, whether as much as it pains any of us. You'll be stripped of your... And so they basically think about it for a moment. And because of what Anakin did, because of everything, they agree that stripped of your title of master you will be. For no longer will you be seated on this council. But... And only under direct supervision and kept to the temple you will be. You will be when not at home. Or basically, when you're not like literally on call, you will be stuck. You will be at the temple. You'll be training the next generation. You will be basically a teacher for your foreseeable days, unless something drastic has happened again that you need to be called upon. And Anakin actually is like surprised. He's like, wait, you're not banning. You're not banning me, or not banning me. You're not exiling me. And Yoda and Obi-Wan again both look at you. A bit more of a like, as I said, truth your words ring. You ring, young Skywalker. Perhaps Time it is perhaps for the Jedi to reevaluate themselves. Uh, if it were not for you, what you did, Sidious, Lord Darth Sidious, Chancellor Palpatine may have won. So Anakin actually feels like so much a huge super weight lifted off his shoulders. Just, it's like, oh my god, it's like, thank you. And so now the interesting thing here is that the entire events of the actual trilogy, original trilogy, don't take place because Anakin was saved. Anakin was able to be saved. He and Padme both had their children, Luke and Leia, respectively. Padme lives through the childbirthing process because it wasn't just she didn't lose the will to live, basically. And Anakin pretty much is now working as a teacher of the Jedi, basically helping the Jedi kind of work up new codes and new rules, to helping teach younglings. There we go. The question also became, would Leia and Luke become Jedi at the temple as the temple continued to go on? And honestly, I think because of the changing rules, they say that yes, we found your child is very much capable of the Force, but now it's their choice if they want to become Jedi. We're not going to just take them anymore. Because that's kind of what it was. They were kind of just taking kids and making them Jedi. And I think that basically with the choice, Luke still decides to become a Jedi. Leia, I think, goes into politics like her mother did. Now, will eventually new problems arise? 100%. Like the Death Star plans still exist. In fact, the Death Star, I think, is still being built. So you might get something akin to A New Hope. But the problem is the Jedi still exist. So they're going to be able to take down the Death Star a lot easier. New enemies will always arise. But that, at that point, will be me completely writing new stories for a completely different original trilogy where the Jedi still existed. Now, are they back to prominence like they were at the peak, say, like at beginning of Phantom Menace, a couple years, 100 years prior to that? No, I don't think they'll ever be at their peak again in the sense of numbers, but in the sense of the quality of the Jedi themselves, I do think you'll see a new breed of Jedi. It will lead to problems, obviously, like Anakin almost became a problem and ultimately did in the original series, but the new codes for Jedi seem to allow more in the sense of freedom and choice than the original did. And because of that, they aren't, what's the best way to put it? There's non-stringent rules and less stringent. There's still obviously rules and there's definitely rule guidelines you want to follow, but there's less guidelines. There's less restrictions on what they can do, who they can be. Can they actually have a relationship? Which has helped to mold the new generation of Jedi into something that is something that's a bit more balanced with the Force overall. Whereas, there's so many Jedi leaning towards the light that the few Sith that arose were that much stronger. But now you got Jedi that are in the light but can, dip back and forth a little bit. Similar to kind of like a Windu kind of tiptoes the line a little bit. Now you basically get kind of not true Dre Jedi, but a true gray Jedi, but something akin to that on some level. So ultimately, that is my thoughts on that. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, share, subscribe. As always, if you want us to review something, put in the comments below. Let us know. We'll do a review of it at some point. Ideas for who would win, Star Wars, magic, superhero, anything I do on the channel, put that in the comments below. Let me know. I'll get to that at some point. Hit that bell if you want notifications. So it is surprising how much Windu dying, in my opinion, changes up the entire story of Star Wars, quite frankly. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.